Coming up, an Oklahoma man receives sentencing for a 2020 killing and injuring of an Oklahoma Highway Patrol officer.
Plus, we are downright cold to start this morning out with high pressure control. It's going to stay a bit cold today, but a warming trend will be on the way. Forecast coming up.
And Webb City officials discuss the state of the city and lays out plans for where it goes from here.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, we've got Nick Kelly in studio this morning in for Michael.
I know he's getting a well-deserved day off, and it's probably better off that he stays inside to enjoy the warmth. Just like the rest of us are this morning, because it is just downright cold to start this morning out, Tanya. It's just, I know it's January. It still should not be this cold, but let's start diving into the forecast. Let's see why we're cold this morning. If we can pull up Max Storm, we've got mostly clear skies in place. That's not so bad overall, but our weather setup at the surface at least is dominated by a couple areas of high pressure, but more importantly, this high pressure, if I can find my telestrator, this guy right over the Quad Cities in Davenport, Iowa, that is making it downright cold for our friends in the upper Midwest, Iowa, Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota. Temperatures like that, thus readings of 0 to about 20 below zero. Thankfully, we're not that cold this morning, but it still doesn't change the fact that we're at 3 in the Odyssey right now. We're at 7 in Webb City, 13 in Grove, 10 in Commerce. Fortunately, it doesn't feel any colder. It feels like temperatures, your wind chill factors don't change very much because we thankfully have a light enough breeze outside to get this morning started. But as we go throughout the course of the day, thankfully skies staying mostly sunny and that breeze staying light. We're going to go to 13 by 9 a.m., 25 by noon, and we'll be at least a little bit back above freezing today with highs near 33. Quick look at tonight. Fortunately, not a big drop off in temperature, so we'll only drop to 20 as we go into the overnight hours, and we're going to really like how temperatures rebound as we go into the rest of the weekend. We'll have a look at that in our first look at the 7-day coming up in a bit, Tanya.
All right, well, no doubt it's cold out there.
Yeah, it's going to be cold, but again, it'll pay off in the next few days.
Yes, we can do it. We can make it through this. All right, thanks, Nick. A judge sentences a Fairland, Oklahoma man to multiple life prison terms for killing one man and injuring 2 others, including an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. Edwin Ball gets 3 life sentences with release after 35 years for crimes that happened in March of 2020. Ball shot and killed Brendan Vanswell and shot and injured Peter Stokes. The victims were the adult son and brother of Ball's girlfriend. Ball then barricaded himself in a house near Grand Lake where he shot and injured an Oklahoma State trooper. In November, Ball accepted a deal, pleading guilty to 3 charges: murder in the first degree, shooting with the intent to kill, and assault with a deadly weapon. Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay is in legal trouble. Gay was arrested Wednesday night in Overland Park on misdemeanor criminal damage charges. Authorities say Gay damaged property, including a vacuum cleaner, during a confrontation with a woman. The Chiefs did not have a comment on the situation other than to say the club is aware of the incident. Gay's agent, Max Lepsetzer, released a statement saying no one was physically harmed and that the incident happened during an argument with his son's mother. The D.C. Court of Appeals rules in favor of the city of Miami, Oklahoma, in a lawsuit against the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or Ferc. The ruling says Ferc failed to appropriately analyze the city of Miami's complaint concerning the GRDA's operation of the Pensacola Dam. City claimed the GRDA violated its license by flooding property that it does not have the legal right to flood. City Attorney Ben Loring said in a release, in part, "We have been battling with this problem for decades. Until now, it seems that nobody would even listen to our issues, let alone care about our problems, except for the courts. We feel like someone is finally listening." Missouri Governor Mike Parson is calling for higher teacher pay and money to increase access for childcare. Governor Parson outlines some of the ways he wants to spend nearly $2.8 billion in federal COVID-19 aid during his State of the State address. Governor Parson is asking the state legislature for $722 million to prop up child care centers. He wants another $22 million for matching grants to increase teacher pay to a minimum of $38,000 a year. We'll have more on the governor's plan in our next half hour. On Thursday, Webb City officials laid out what the city has been working on for the past year and where it's going from here. Webb City's mayor, city administrator, and community development director all spoke at the State of the City address. Mayor says infrastructure is a priority for him.
More businesses are coming, we have more housing coming, and it's all in a very organized and predictable manner so that we get good infrastructure to support all of them, and together we can grow and make it a better place to live.
This event was hosted at the Webb City Route 66 Event Center. The Environmental Protection Agency has filed a suit against 3 Oronogo, Missouri residents. According to court documents, the 3 defendants named in the suit have denied the EPA access to their properties for testing and remediation. The suit names Ronald and Patricia West as well as Randy Pendergraft. The suit involves properties in Oronogo owned by the West, 1 property owned by Pendergraft. The properties are part of the Oronogo-Dunwig Mining Belt Superfund site, which is contaminated with lead waste. According to the suit, the EPA has attempted to gain access to the properties to do soil testing and ultimately clean up the contaminated land. We spoke with Ronald West, who declined to go on camera. He told us he and his mother, Patricia, were approached by the EPA in 2016 about access to their properties. West tells us when he looked at the paperwork from the EPA, he says it listed him as a grantor, and he became concerned about losing property rights if he signed those documents allowing the EPA on site. West says he was very careful to never tell the EPA no and instead began work on a contract with the EPA for the work. For the complete court documents and a statement from the Department of Justice, you can check out this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Do you have a favorite local business you'd like to see recognized on the air? We want your help to recognize the 4 states' finest. Head over to KOAMnewsnow.com/finest. During this month, nominate your favorite 4-state businesses. Use your browser or just snap a picture of the QR code with your phone and you'll go right to our website. Once there, you'll find several categories to choose from. This is all chosen by you, so be sure to join in on the nomination process this month. It's a great way to show your love and appreciation for your favorite local business. And each week, one lucky viewer who nominates a business will receive $100. Don't wait, the nomination deadline is this Sunday at midnight, so tell us about the 4 states' finest now. It's 5:07.
First look at the 7-day forecast has us cold to start the weekend out. Highs only near 33 today, but fortunately, we're going to south wind action tomorrow through Sunday. That'll put us into the mid-40s Saturday, lower 50s on Sunday. Then we got to watch for another system on Monday. That'll bring rain chances for Monday, and then another cold down right behind it as we go into the middle of next week.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, it's tournament time in the 4-state Raider Classic. Tipped off on the home court of Frontenac last night against Fort Scott. We're going to let you know how the Raiders did. Plus, scientists hope to send a robot dog into environments too dangerous to send humans. And research shows how music can have a powerful impact on our health. This is a story you don't want to miss. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
In Butler, Missouri.
Kicking off sports this morning is tournament week with Frontenac hosting the 4-state Raider Classic the other day. And on the boys' side, the tournament hosts, the Raiders, kicked things off the other night against Fort Scott. So the Raiders, they were on a roll to begin the season. They were ranked 6-1, make that ranked 5th in the state in Class 3A. It was a slow start for both teams, though. Michael Doria hit a big 3-0 to force a timeout and to give the Raiders some momentum. He finishes with 9. And a nice play by Caston Fields, an offensive board, and puts it back in for the 2. Then, let's see what Colin McCartney can do. First game back after an illness, by the way. Thankfully, he made the men. Gets the buck and the foul. Frontenac leads 31-19 at the half. And then on the fast break, McCartney to Jordan Fudge for the 2-handed jam. Fort Scott now off of the miss. Marquine Johnson spinning and finishing. Team high 12 points for Johnson. This one, it was all Raiders with McCartney leading the way, getting through everybody here for that nice finish. McCartney gets 20 and Frontenac moves on after winning 62-43 over Fort Scott.
Really, after the third quarter, we started pushing the ball. I told them at the half, you guys got to push the ball up the court. That's what we do. Once they started pushing the ball up the court, we beat the defense setting up, and then we had a good look at the rim. We've never won our tournament, and we've never placed second in our tournament. We had third place 2 years ago. So our expectations is to be playing for first or second place on Saturday. That's our expectations, and we make them high, and we try to achieve those.
And earlier in the day, a pair of Missouri teams opened the tournament in Frontenac. We were talking about 8th ranked Webb City taking on Nevada. Webb City starting off fast. Dante Washington to Cole Vaden. Nice corner shot, knocking it down. Then Caden Turner in transition gets up and finishes a 7-0 run for the Cards to begin the game. And a timeout to Nevada. Out of that timeout, Bryce Budd, nice floater for the Tigers. Later in the quarter, Evan Ray will connect on the deep ball. Just a 6-point Webb City lead after the first. The second, though, the Cardinals got hot. Dante Washington, that three was good. Then Washington assisting again, just a rocket pass to Max Higginbotham, hitting the three, 19-3 quarter for Webb City to lead 35-13 at the break. In the second half, look at this. Cole Vaden off the glass, Caden Turner with the jam. Webb City cruises by Nevada with a final of 70-29. The Pittsburgh Purple Dragons host the Bill Hanson Memorial this week, and both the girls and boys brackets got started the other day. 4 games on each side. The Pittsburgh boys opened up against the Rams of Owasso. Pittsburgh is 7-1 through 8 games, currently ranked 10th in the state in Class 5A rankings. How about ranked 10th? There we go. Now, second quarter there, Hayden Murphy drives the foul. Second quarter, a big one for Murphy. Right before half, that was Murphy again, scoring 7 of the team's 12 in the second. Dragons up 3 at the half. Caden Fry comes up big in the second half for Owasso. Spins and scores there. Fry, 17 points, all in the second half. Rams do take the lead. On the other end, Mason English going to work and getting the foul. English leads Pittsburgh with 25, but they just couldn't get back in front. Owasso takes the win here, 58-46. After that, the last game of the night was a big one. Joplin taking on Blue Valley Northwest. The Huskies are the second-ranked team in Kansas in Class 6A. It was a good one, but Joplin ultimately fell short, just a little bit though, with a final of 63-56. Now this week is a big week for Pitt State women's basketball. The Gorillas face 2 ranked teams in the next 3 days, beginning with a road trip last night against Nebraska Kearney. Now Kearney is 14-2 this season, ranked number 14 in the country. PSU trying for their 3rd straight win, but Kearney finishes 72-58. Freshman Sidney Holmes gets a double-double with 10 points and 10 rebounds. Now on the men's side, the Gorillas looking for a much-needed win in Kearney. Pitt State, having lost 3 straight and currently sitting at 4-12 overall, 3-7 in the MIAA. The Gorillas unfortunately lost this one, 88-79. Ryan Pippin scoring a team-high 22 for PSU. Missouri Southern Lions were also in action on the road last night. For the Southern women, they got a big opportunity facing one of the best teams in the nation. The Lions in Hayes facing the second-ranked Fort Hays State Tigers. Moso was looking to push their winning streak to 4, and that is a win for Southern, 54-41 over the Tigers. Lacey Stokes, 21 points and 4 steals, and the Maya Johns, 9 points and 10 rebounds for her. After that, the Southern men hit the floor against the Tigers. The Lions tried to avoid a 3rd straight loss. Now, Stan Scott scores 21, but Southern, they fell short, 89-71. That's it for sports this morning. Still to come, a 19-year-old woman breaks records as she completes a solo flight around the world. But first, we have high pressure in control, keeping us cold this morning, but we'll see if it can warm us back up today when we come back.
Here at Show Me Windows and Doors, we want to be.
All right, we are kicking off quite a cold start this morning. Couple good reasons for that. Here's your jet stream setup. It's jet well to the south of the region thanks to a departing upper level low. This actually is an upper level low that's going to sink to the south and then come at us with rain chances by Monday and going into Tuesday. In the meantime, we'll let that sit in the northern Rockies for the next few days. At the surface, high pressure over northern Illinois. That is what's really keeping us cold, but at least it's giving us a light breeze and mostly clear skies that we've seen throughout last night and to get this morning started. As for what it feels like, though, as a result, Boy, is it cold. 7 in Joplin, a calm breeze, so thankfully it doesn't feel any colder, but it's because we have such dry air that temperatures allow to drop off so much throughout the overnight. Most of the Joplin metro in the upper single digits, between 7 and 9 degrees, maybe a 10-degree reading over in Seneca and Commerce. Everybody else, we've got mid-single digits in parts of southeast Kansas and lower teens in our southern counties. Fortunately, though, we are going to see temperatures at least do a little bit better compared to the other day. 10 by 8 a.m., thankfully back to 25 by noon. I think we can go just above freezing around the Joplin area today, right around 33 degrees, as our light easterly breeze becomes a little more southeasterly as the day rolls along. Plus, it'll help that we'll have mostly sunny skies for a good portion of the day. Now, the future track here, I think it's overdoing cloud cover a little bit. I think we'll be partly cloudy as we go through the overnight, but this still helps us out. Right around 20 to start the early overnight hours out. Then I think we'll actually start to rise a little bit by sunrise tomorrow morning, and finally back near normal with temperatures back near 44 on your Saturday. 51 Sunday, so the weekend overall doesn't look too bad. We just got to get past today. Then after rain chances on Monday, we'll go right back into the chill by the middle of next week. Switching gears now, Robot Dog may soon be on the scene in places too dangerous for mankind to be in. Kevin Cork has the details on the new technology that allows robots to see and sense its path like a human would.
A robot dog hikes to new heights in Switzerland. The animal, designed by a research university in Zurich, takes on the difficult trail with ease.
The slope was quite steep. Like it was even like hard sometimes for us. Like it was quite exhausting. But the robot could go over all of these obstacles.
This four-legged bot scales mountains, maneuvers through tall grass and snow, and even steps over obstacles. Creators say Animal is already being used to help keep research teams out of hostile environments like Chernobyl and the Fukushima power plants.
With this controller, the robot can go to like an area that is dangerous for the human, or like very far, like for example in a nuclear power plant or disaster area, like on the other planet surfaces.
Animal can not only read and understand maps, but can see its path using animal-like touch sensors.
Until now, like when the robot used perception, mostly they were just assuming that the map is always correct.
These sensors allow the robot to think for itself, making decisions about its next movements in real time, just like a human would.
It's kind of funny how man's actual best friend was not a fan of that, but Animal has already been successful exploring difficult terrains here on Earth in one day. They're hoping to get Animal up into space. So that's perfectly to our perfect question of the day, or something to talk about. How do you feel about robotic animals? You can chime in on our Insta poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. And you can also vote using our KOAM News Now app. You can scan that QR code right in front of you. It's easy to do. Just get your camera out on your smartphone, scan it, and it'll take care of the rest. In the meantime, we'll take a break and be back with Healthwatch on the other side.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, 6 states now have fully vaccinated more than 3/4 of their population, which means they have received their first 2 shots of COVID-19 vaccine. According to the latest data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, those states include Connecticut, Hawaii, Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Percentage of people in the U.S. who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 is now more than 63%. And about 1/4 of the total U.S. population is fully vaccinated and boosted. However, there is still nearly 20% of the eligible population who have not received any dose of COVID-19 vaccine. In Alabama, Mississippi, Idaho, and Wyoming, less than half of the eligible population is fully vaccinated. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has updated its map of America's inactivity levels. According to the newest numbers, 25% of adults are not active enough to protect their health. The CDC defines inactivity as not participating in any physical activity outside of work over the last month, and that could be running, walking for exercise, or gardening. The West tends to be more active than other regions of the U.S. Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, West Virginia and Puerto Rico had some of the highest inactivity levels, with 30% or more adults being inactive. CDC recommends at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity each week. Music is medicine. It can wake up the brain, calm our hearts, and ease our fears. In fact, from Alzheimer's to heart disease, research is proving that music can be as powerful as some medications to help heal what ails us. KOAM's Dal Quick has the details.
Watch as the sound of Swan Lake transports Marta Gonzalez, 71 and suffering from Alzheimer's disease, back to a time when she was the prima ballerina. Carol Rosenstein uses music to bring back lost memories.
Some of them have just been sitting like stone, and they hear a familiar melody, and they start to open their eyes and
raindrops keep falling on my head,
vocalize and tap and snap.
It's almost like
Music storage cells in our brain do not succumb to the disease process.
when I am sad and lonely.
And music doesn't just impact our brain. A review of 23 studies covering 1,500 patients found that listening to music reduced heart rate, blood pressure, and anxiety in heart disease patients. And a Harvard study proved cardiac patients who listened to music recovered from heart attack and stroke faster.
Somehow, the music releases the elixirs that allow us to respond
That's so cool. Again, that was Dow Quick reporting. A study out of UC Irvine found healthy adults ages 60 to 85 without previous musical experience improved their processing speed and memory after just 3 months of weekly 30-minute piano lessons and 3 hours a week of practice, whereas the control group showed no changes. And Stanford University conducted a study with 30 depressed people over 80 and found those who participated in a weekly music therapy group were less anxious, less distressed, and had higher self-esteem. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And a quick look at our forecast on this Friday morning. It's 10 degrees by 8 a.m., but thankfully we're going to go do a little better temperatures later today. Highs near 33. We'll get another half hour of news coming up.
At Hardee's, there's so many tongue.
Coming up, an Oklahoma man receives sentencing for a 2020 killing and the injuring of an Oklahoma Highway Patrol officer.
Plus, you can see how high pressure is getting us out to a cold start this morning. We'll see if we can start warming things up this weekend. Coming up.
And Webb City officials discuss the state of the city and lay out plans for where to go from here.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. There's no doubt it's cold outside, unbearably cold. Nick Kelly in for Michael Hayslip today.
It is January after all, but it is not supposed to be this cold. Normally, Tanya, we should be in the mid-20s to start the morning out. That's where we're going to be by lunchtime. That gives you an idea of how cold it is as we get this Friday morning underway. On the plus side of things, though, there are actually silver linings to the setup, believe it or not. We are mostly clear. No threatening weather whatsoever to start this morning out. That's because of high pressure, mainly parked over the Iowa-Illinois border, right over the Quad Cities. But on the north side of that high, it is so cold in the upper Midwest. Those are showing temperatures from about 20 below zero to about zero. And thankfully, that is cold. That is not on its way in here, but it's already cold enough. For example, 3 in Iola, 9 in Chautauqua, 10 in Commerce. We have most of the Joplin metro in the upper single digits this morning. Thankfully, it doesn't feel any colder. A light breeze, not giving us much of a wind chill. And this is a breeze that's going to stay light, like it is right now, as we go throughout the course of the day. And with mostly sunny skies, we are going to do a bit better compared to yesterday. 13 by 9 a.m., 25 by noon. I see highs today pushing near 33, so a little bit above freezing officially for today, Tanya, but we are still going to warm things up for the rest of the weekend. We'll break down those numbers here in a bit.
All right. Sounds good. Absolutely. Thanks, Nick. Well, a judge sentences a Fairland, Oklahoma man to multiple life prison terms for killing one man and injuring two others, including an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. Edwin Ball gets 3 life sentences with release after 35 years for crimes that happened in March of 2020. Ball shot and killed Brendan Vanswell and shot and injured Peter Stokes. The victims were the adult son and brother of Ball's girlfriend. Ball then barricaded himself in a house near Grand Lake where he shot and injured an Oklahoma state trooper. In November, Ball accepted a deal, pleading guilty to 3 charges: murder in the first degree, shooting with the intent to kill, and assault with a deadly weapon. On Thursday, Webb City officials laid out what the city has been working on for the past year and where it's going from here. Webb City's mayor, city administrator, and community development director all spoke at the State of the City address. The mayor says infrastructure is a priority for him.
More businesses are coming, we have more housing coming, and it's all in a very organized and predictable manner so that we get good infrastructure to support all of them, and together we can grow and make it a better place to live.
The event was hosted at the Webb City Route 66 Event Center. Missouri is flush. That was the message from Governor Parson's state budget director while outlining Capitol reporters for the $46 billion spending plan for the fiscal year that begins July 1st. Kermit Miller has more.
In total, lawmakers will see a budget proposal topping $46 billion.
With the way our revenues are growing right now, the way they grew last year, what we expect to see in the future, we are very confident that we have enough ongoing revenue to sustain that spending.
It's really 2 budgets. The normal spending plan has about $2 billion extra dollars. The special federal money from the American Rescue Plan is another $2.8 billion. That money must be committed by 2024 and spent by 2026. A big chunk, $400 million, will go to COVID response. There's also substantial money for infrastructure, highways, water systems, broadband, and money to rebuild college campuses, to upgrade the state's struggling information technology, even to build the Rock Island Corridor Trail.
These are big projects that are going to take a few years to get going.
From the general revenue, Parson wants to target child care with $722 million, money he considers essential to getting workers back on the job. Education funding will see increases at all levels, and the governor will pump $228 million into raising the pay for state workers.
To be able to staff our prisons, our mental health institutions, our youth facilities, to answer the phones, to upkeep the websites that citizens interact with us, we need to be competitive with our wages.
Haug says most of the money is one-time funding, and thus most of the spending is one-time spending. He also noted the governor has no intention of blowing every penny of the surplus and will hold substantial money in reserve. Let's toss it over to Nick for our Something to Talk About.
And this morning it is about robotic animals. Yes, specifically animal with a Y instead of the I. It's a robot dog designed by a research university in Zurich. Now, Animal can move across even the roughest terrain with the greatest of ease. It can even scale mountains, maneuvering through tall grass and snow and stepping over almost any obstacle. Animal's already being used instead of research teams in hostile environments like Chernobyl and the Fukushima power plants. Animal can also read and understand maps, and they can see its path using animal-like touch sensors. One of the goals researchers have for the Animal will eventually be space exploration. So that brings us to our question, how do you feel about robotic dogs? It can either be great for people, you're not a fan, no opinion, and a lot of other options as far as I can tell. I believe it is great for people, has that. You can chime in, of course, with KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or if you have your smartphone app, you can chime in on there as well. And you can see it right there for yourself. That QR code, just open up your smartphone's camera app, take the picture. It'll take you right to your app store of choice. And it's free, by the way. So got more reason to download and chime in. But I want to hear from Tanya. I want to hear how she feels about this.
Well, it's kind of hit or miss because, you know, dogs in general, pets, robotic pets, they have their pros and cons because obviously they're not going to snuggle with you. You can't build that emotional bond with them, and
Yeah.
man's best friend bond and stuff. But I guess you could program them to be your protector, and it's very unlikely that they would poop in your children's bedrooms.
I know, it's like there can't be much. Yeah, it's like I guess that's one positive. You can't worry about any cleanup since
Yes.
and
your feeding bill would be a lot less expensive.
Yeah, and I think the vet bills would be too. Well, unless like you swap the vet bills with like maintenance bills.
Yeah, true.
It breaks down.
And the initial cost.
But I do agree how it's important for research though, like Chernobyl and the Fukushima power plants. It could be great to help research out there.
What about for like police canines, something like that? That'd be interesting.
I don't know, that would be interesting.
Sending some, bomb sniffing dogs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there, I think like real man's best friend would have the advantage there. At least I would think so.
All right, well, weigh in and let us know your opinion.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Nick. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM morning. How did this man manage to steal a guitar? Leave it to Jeannie Moose to let us know. Plus, tensions continue to build over Russian presence on the Ukraine border. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning.
It's a touchdown!
Topping World Watch, conflict looms on the Ukraine-Russia border. The risk of war is greater than ever before in the last 30 years. And that's according to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe chairman. Nick Robertson reviews a week of deadlocked diplomacy between Russia and the NATO countries that has yet to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
On the brink of a possible invasion, new satellite images show Russian troops and armor massed less than 10 miles from Ukraine's border. President Joe Biden expecting an attack.
My guess is he will move in. He has to do something.
On what to do about Putin's anticipated move, Biden appearing less sure how the US and allies would respond.
It depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, etc.
At NATO, Biden's comments causing concern. One diplomat telling CNN there's some truth there, which didn't need to be said out loud. A day later, Biden clarifying his press conference comments.
If any assembled Russian units move across the Ukrainian border, that is an invasion. But it will be met with severe and coordinated economic response.
But not before Ukraine's president tweeted his frustration. There are no minor incursions, no minor casualties. His foreign minister doubling down.
One can't be half invaded or half aggressive. Aggression is either there or not.
Hot foot from talks with both the president and foreign minister of Ukraine the day prior. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Berlin, meeting German, French and British foreign ministry officials, trying to steady the slightly shaken diplomatic messaging and point up the cost of diplomatic failure.
And at its core, it's about Russia's rejection of a post-Cold War Europe that is whole, free, and at peace. At stake, again, are principles that have made the world safer and more stable for decades.
In Moscow, where officials repeatedly insist they're not about to attack anyone, Biden's invasion comments, not for the first time, triggering a rebuff.
We are convinced that the purpose of this campaign is to create an information cover for the preparation of their own large-scale provocations, including military ones.
President Putin's spokesman offered a more diplomatic interpretation, saying it signals a certain willingness to discuss some issues, saying also that President Putin is ready for another conversation with President Biden. Just one caveat, though. The United States must give a written response to Russia's security demands, something the U.S. has so far refused to do. Teenage aviator Zara Rutherford has become the youngest woman to fly around the world solo. The 19-year-old, who has dual British-Belgian nationality, landed at the Kortrijk-Wevelgem airport in western Belgium yesterday, completing an epic 41-country journey that spanned over 32,300 miles and broke 2 Guinness World Records in the process. Not only has she beaten the record held by American Shasta Ways, who was 30 when she circumnavigated the globe unaccompanied in 2017. Rutherford also now holds the title for the first woman to circumnavigate the world in a microlight aircraft. When asked what the hardest part was, Rutherford said, flying over Serbia due to the extreme cold. Ooh, I can't imagine. We'll have more on Zara Rutherford's amazing accomplishment on Fox 14 at 7. We'll want you to tune in for that. The world's most popular travel destination for 2022 isn't Paris, Rome, or Hawaii, or any of the usual places. According to TripAdvisor, it's Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. I so want to go there. The 20th century fishing village turned 21st century global hotspot tops TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice Awards for 2022. London came in behind Dubai at number 2, with Cancun, Bali, and Crete rounding out the top 5. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be back with the news you need to know right after this.
Want a new Honda or quality pre-owned vehicle? Now's the time at...
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Health officials in Kansas are working to improve the availability of COVID-19 testing. The department says as the numbers of positive cases rise, the demand for testing is also increasing, causing delays in receiving tests and getting test results. In response, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment says it is increasing staffing at existing testing sites and working to add 13 new testing sites. The department says it's looking for new laboratories to reduce wait times and test results and is searching for large indoor testing locations to prevent closures because of bad weather. The CDC reports an average of about 1 in 4 COVID tests is coming back positive, a huge increase. All 50 states are reporting a high level of community transmission. Missouri has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the country, and the COVID situation in the state's biggest cities is dire. Hospitals there are swamped with patients. Governor Parson declared an end to the pandemic emergency 3 weeks ago. That emergency order gave hospitals the flexibility to move staff around and add beds, and without it, they say they're struggling to keep up with the rising number of patients. A judge sentences a Fairland, Oklahoma man to multiple life prison terms for killing 1 man and injuring 2 others, including an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. Edwin Ball gets 3 life sentences with release after 35 years for crimes that happened in March of 2020. Ball shot and killed Brendan Vanswell and shot and injured Peter Stokes. The victims were the adult son and brother of Ball's girlfriend. Ball then barricaded himself in a house near Grand Lake where he shot and injured an Oklahoma State trooper. In November, Ball accepted a deal, pleading guilty to 3 charges: murder in the first degree, shooting with the intent to kill, and assault with a deadly weapon. And repairs are in full swing inside Missouri Southern State University's Taylor Performing Arts Center, 2.5 years after it closed. The center closed in July of 2019 because of structural problems with the main stage, stairwells, and rigging system. Missouri lawmakers last year provided $2.5 million to make the 47-year-old facility usable again. The university expects repairs to be complete later this year. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as far as our forecast for today, it is going to be cold once again, but fortunately, we are going to see an improvement compared to the other day where we could barely make it into the 20s. 25 degrees by noon today, 33 for afternoon highs today, with eventually a southeast breeze kicking back in late in the afternoon. And that south breeze taking hold tonight means we drop to 20 around the midnight hour. And then we start to warm as we head towards Saturday morning. 44 finally back near normal on Saturday, 51 Sunday. Both days looking dry, so the weekend overall looking okay. But after rain chances on Monday, that cold front will bring us back into the 30s come Tuesday and Wednesday.
Wanted, a male suspect in his 20s who stole a guitar in his pants. How do you even do that? Jeannie Moose wonders if the suspect will ever face the music.
When an alleged thief opted to put an $8,000 guitar down his pants, he dressed for success, police say.
Wearing massively oversized pants.
York Regional Police are looking for this suspect as people wonder, how do you fit a guitar in your pants? Were they bell bottoms? Nope. On surveillance video, you see him in the store in Richmond Hill, just north of Toronto, Canada, slipping the guitar neck down his pant leg. Constable Laura Nicole speaks for most of us when she says,
I've never been in a situation where I've put any musical instruments in my own pants, actually.
After sticking the neck down his leg, he opened his jacket and closed it around the body of the guitar. He then walked out and got into what police describe as a getaway car driven by this suspect. The theft has everyone thinking of that one-note joke. Is that a guitar in your pants, or are you just happy to see me kind of jokes?
That was our first thought too, right?
The purloined instrument is a reproduction of the famed 1959 Les Paul guitar by Gibson. This is the guitar's namesake, Les Paul himself.
Somewhere there's music.
Yeah, somewhere in this guy's pants. Ginny Mose, CNN, New York.
Not gonna lie, that's not exactly music to my ears. We'll be back with your forecast after the break.
We are looking at high pressure leading us off to a very cold start this morning with temperatures in the single digits, but once we get the sun to rise, the numbers will improve, certainly compared to yesterday. 25 by the noon hour, 33 for this afternoon as far as the 7-day forecast is concerned. We're finally back in the 40s on Saturday and 50s on Sunday under partly to mostly sunny skies, and after rain chances Monday, back into the chill by Tuesday. Back after the break.
Coming up, an Oklahoma man receives sentencing for a 2020 killing and for the injuring of an Oklahoma Highway Patrol officer.
Plus, we are starting off cold once again thanks to high pressure in control, but this will ultimately start to warm us back up. Details coming up.
And Webb City officials discuss the state of the city and lay out plans for where to go from here.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck. Nick Kelly is in for Michael Hayslip today. And you've been tracking the cold.
Yeah, it's like thankfully there's no winter preset to track, and I just wish I was tracking warmer numbers for you, Tanya.
Yeah.
But it's January after all. It's got to be cold to start a typical January morning out. But we should be starting in the 20s. We are not starting in the 20s this morning. Let's break down our forecast. So the first look at the forecast at the 6 o'clock hour. You can see how we have pretty much quiet skies, if not clear skies, on top of the region. But high pressure centered over northern Illinois, eastern Iowa. That's what's keeping us downright cold, but not as cold as our neighbors up north in Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. They are starting out with temperatures as cold as 20 below zero. Fortunately, we don't see those numbers down here, but it is cold enough. With 3 in Iola, 8 in Chautauqua, 11 in Grove and Anderson, 6 in Webb City. Fortunately, this breeze is light, so we're not adding too much of a bite to the air thanks to a light easterly breeze at about 5 miles per hour. And as long as that breeze stays light and the sun gets back into action after sunrise, we are going to improve on temperatures today, but it's still going to be cold. 25 by noon, we'll have highs near 33. Fortunately, Tanya, these numbers will continue to trend up as we go through the rest of the weekend. We'll break that down with a deeper look at the forecast in a bit.
All right, sounds like a plan. All right, thanks, Nick. The D.C. Court of Appeals rules in favor of the city of Miami in Oklahoma in a lawsuit against the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or Ferc. The ruling says Ferc failed to appropriately analyze the city of Miami's complaint concerning the GRDA's operation of the Pensacola Dam. City claimed the GRDA violated its license by flooding property that it does not have the legal right to flood. City Attorney Ben Loring said in a release, in part, "We've been battling this problem for decades, and until now it seems no one would even listen to our issues. A lot of one care about our problems, except for the courts. We feel like someone is finally listening." We've talked about a crisis that's going on in America right now, the lack of blood for blood transfusions. And there's some good news that had to be shared with you, 4 states. And the good news is that you've helped to make a difference. When Paul Lyle talked to KOAM, he told us about the crisis and how you donating makes a big difference. The American Red Cross blood drive held in Pittsburgh on the 19th and 20th was a huge success. The drive exceeded their goals. and even had 19 first-time donors. You can still make a difference by donating to places like the American Red Cross to help end the blood shortage that's facing our nation. A judge sentences a Fairland, Oklahoma man to multiple life prison terms for killing one man and injuring 2 others, including an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. Edwin Ball gets 3 life sentences with release after 35 years for crimes that happened in March of 2020. Ball shot and killed Brennan Vanswell and shot and injured Peter Stokes. The victims were the adult son and brother of Ball's girlfriend. Ball then barricaded himself in a house near Grand Lake where he shot and injured an Oklahoma State trooper. In November, Ball accepted a deal, pleading guilty to 3 charges: murder in the first degree, shooting with the intent to kill, and assault with a deadly weapon. On Thursday, Webb City officials laid out what the city has been working on for the past year and where it's going from here. Webb City's mayor, city administrator, and community development director all spoke at the State of the City address. The mayor says infrastructure is a priority for him.
More businesses are coming, we have more housing coming, and it's all in a very organized and predictable manner so that we get good infrastructure to support all of them, and together we can grow and make it a better place to live.
This event was hosted at the Webb City Route 66 Event Center. Today, back in 2017, the Women's March took place. On the first full day of former President Trump's presidency, hundreds of thousands of people crowded into the U.S. Capitol for what became known as the Women's March. People aimed this protest at the Trump administration and the threat it represented to reproductive, civil, and human rights. At the same time, more than 3 million people in cities across the country and around the world held protests simultaneously to show support for the Women's March, making it the largest single-day protest in U.S. history. 6:07.
And that means another look at our forecast. For this Friday morning, we are downright cold to start things out with many of us in the single digits, but we are going to see that thermometer start to rise once we get past sunrise. 13 by 9 a.m., 25 by noon. I'm expecting highs near 33 this afternoon, especially around the Joplin area. We'll drop to 20 early in the overnight, then we'll actually start to rise as the south breeze takes hold once again, and that will really help us out for the rest of the weekend. Under partly to mostly sunny skies, we'll top out around 44 for your Saturday, 51 for Sunday. Then we got to deal with the system on Monday. It'll bring us rain chances with the chilly Monday. Then behind that, right back into the 30s for Tuesday and Wednesday.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Even in the 4 states, schools are closing due to not having enough staff. And that raises the question, have you ever wanted to become a substitute teacher? One unlikely candidate does just that. We'll tell you who. Plus, people who have Havana syndrome can no longer blame Cuba or Russia. The CIA releases new information on that. We'll explain. And the cops involved with George Floyd's death see their day in court as a civil lawsuit heads to court. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, jury was selected in the federal trial of 3 fired Minneapolis police officers facing civil rights charges in the George Floyd case. All 3 were at the scene when Derek Chauvin killed Floyd by kneeling on his neck for more than 9 minutes. Mola Linghi reports from the federal courthouse in St. Paul.
Security teams patrolled the federal courthouse in St. Paul, where a jury has been selected in the trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers. Thomas Lane, J. Alexander King, and Tu Tao are facing charges for their part in the deadly arrest of George Floyd. The 3 men are accused of willfully depriving Floyd of his civil rights, while their colleague, Derek Chauvin, kneeled on his neck.
Find the defendant guilty.
Courtroom cameras captured the moment Chauvin was convicted of murder last year, but this trial will not be broadcast. Attorney and legal analyst Joe Tamburino.
What is the defense's argument?
The defense's argument is twofold. Number one, that they did not willfully try to violate the rights of Mr. Floyd. And secondly, that they had no part in what Mr. Chauvin was doing.
Video of the deadly 2020 encounter shows the 3 defendants at the scene as Chauvin kneels on Floyd's neck. Lane and King had been patrol officers for less than a week.
You know that.
At the heart of the case is whether the defendants could and should have tried to stop Chauvin. At least one juror has already been excused after saying he made a personal choice to stop watching the video of Floyd's arrest. Floyd's partner, Courtney Ross, says the three officers are as responsible as Chauvin.
They all took part in this. They all killed him.
The former officers have all pleaded not guilty. If convicted, they could face up to life in prison. Mola Lengi, CBS News, St. Paul, Minnesota.
Opening statements are set for Monday morning. When District Attorney Mark Bennett explained why he was not filing charges in the Cedric Lofton case, he also mentioned the constraints with the state's broad stand your ground law. That law and the cases that have applied to it were the basis for his decision announced on Tuesday. Now, the current stand your ground law was passed by the Kansas legislature in 2010, laying out when use of force is allowed for self-defense and that there is no duty to retreat when feeling under threat. Sean Lodging takes a closer look at this law.
Over the last several years, we have had a litany of cases which has shown any attorney, any prosecutor in the state that we have one of the most robust stand your ground laws.
Mark Bennett says after Cedric Lofton punched one of the staff members at JIAC, the state's stand your ground law comes into play, and that includes self-defense immunity.
They're at work, they're authorized to do this, and our case law has made it clear.
Bennett says during his review of the case, he questioned if the 35 minutes Lofton was in the cell, face down in the prone position with restraints, went from lawful to unlawful.
The only way I can overcome that presumption that they can't be charged is if I can show, one, that they honestly didn't believe the use of force was necessary under the circumstances. There's no way I can prove that. They honestly thought what they were doing was the right thing. And then whether a reasonable person would believe the use of force, would not believe the use of force was necessary.
I spoke with defense attorney Charlie O'Hara. He has no connection to the Lofton case. He says reading Bennett's report, he has some questions, including seeking more clarity explaining why staff thought Lofton needed to be restrained and on the floor for 35 minutes.
You got somebody restrained, well, how are you restraining him? Is that reasonable? I understand they can defend themselves, but once he's handcuffed and shackled, I don't know that there's a whole lot he could have done.
He says the key word here is reasonable.
If somebody comes up and slaps you, you don't have a right to shoot him in the head with a gun. I mean, you have to reasonably respond to what happens.
He adds that prosecutors have a responsibility to not file a case if they can't prove probable cause. But O'Hara says in a case like this,
the community has a lot of questions, and I would assume a lot of the community would like that answered by a judge or a jury.
Now, O'Hara says civil action is an option. Bennett says since he became the county's DA in 2013, there have been 33 civilian cases where a suspect in someone's death was not charged because of self-defense immunity. That includes 3 cases Bennett says he filed but were then thrown out by a judge because of the state's stand your ground law. There were also 13 officer-involved fatality cases that fell under self-defense immunity. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
We are back once again for our weather on the 7s, and it is quite a cold start this morning. Couple of good reasons for that, though. The first, at the jet stream level, the jet back to the south of the region. We're on the cold side of things, and believe it or not, I'm watching this upper level low by early next week. This is ultimately going to swing out of the south and then come at us as we go into Monday. That's going to bring rain chances back into the forecast. In the meantime, though, we're dry today, that's for sure. We're dry this weekend. We'll just get that right out of the way. But this area, high pressure, is keeping that breeze light and clear skies across a good portion of the region. But boy, is it leading to a downright cold start this morning. Around Joplin, we're still dropping off just a little bit. We are at 6 right now. Thankfully, though, that breeze is calm, so it doesn't feel any colder than it actually does. And everybody's just downright cold. From 3 in Iola to 7 in Columbus, 10 in Miami, some 11s popping up around Anderson, Grove, and Jay, Oklahoma. Fortunately, once we get past sunrise, we are going to warm things up. Not near our average high of 45 degrees, but an improvement at least compared to the other day. 25 by noon. I'm still expecting us to top out around 33, with eventually an east breeze coming southeasterly at about 5 to 10 once we get into the afternoon. That applies for the Joplin Metro, but in general, the rest of the area will fare similarly. We'll be in the mid-20s to start the afternoon out. Lower 30s overall as we get into Friday this afternoon, I should say. It is Friday after all. We're mostly sunny throughout the day, but tonight going into Saturday morning, I think the future track's overdoing cloud cover here. I think we'll just go partly cloudy skies. Doesn't matter though, because with the south wind starting to pick back up and the southwest wind on top of that, certainly by Saturday morning, that means we only drop back near 20. We go into the mid-20s by sunrise Saturday morning, and eventually partly to mostly sunny skies, finally back near normal as we go into Saturday afternoon. In fact, we'll top out around 44 once we get past our cold start of 20 for Saturday morning. 51, partly sunny, keeping it nice for our Sunday. Then that upper level low to the northwest, that will bring in our next cold front on Monday. Ahead of it, though, we'll top out at 52 with some rain chances to watch. Then we go right back into the chill Tuesday and Wednesday with highs back in the 30s. If you ever wondered what it was like to go through the process of becoming a substitute teacher in the state of Oklahoma, Storm Jones did. He went to a metro school to get the ball rolling on becoming a temporary teacher.
Kind of nervous. Don't know why I'm nervous. Yes, ma'am. Storm. Nice to meet you.
Patricia Dominguez with Santa Fe South Public Charter Schools has seen a surge in substitute applications.
Just your name and address.
Oh, okay.
Guiding applicants through background checks.
Did I need to do anything on this one?
School policies.
Initial each one of these.
State and federal forms.
And this one is from the Department of Homeland Security.
A mountain of paperwork.
You know what? I put 2021 on this date.
All in an effort to support, not supplant, teachers as the state battles COVID-19.
You're not my typical sub.
Like everybody, we're encountering some real challenges due to the pandemic with keeping schools open.
Superintendent Chris Brewster has leaned into the governor's plan of inviting state employees and the business community into the classroom.
We don't just need a babysitter. We need people who really are there to help kids.
At one point, up to 23% of the district's faculty and staff were out due to the virus.
The highest paid tier would be a certified teacher, and we are able to go all the way down to folks who graduated from high school.
He says the need is great because he believes the best place for kids is in the classroom.
So if you walk in and say, with honesty, I'm just here to help you guys, I think you're going to see that it is an outstanding experience for you and for the kids both.
This will give you your date, your time.
Aside from the HR paperwork, the school also sends off a background check.
Pick any day after today and click on schedule.
We expect to get background checks back generally in a week from when they've been submitted.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I got my fingerprinting and federal background check at a tag agent in Norman. It's about $55 out of pocket, but is reimbursed by the school.
And those prints will be sent off to the FBI. We'll let you know when we get all of that paperwork back, and we'll be sure to bring you along on my first day back in the classroom.
It's a pretty unique passage from News 9 down in Oklahoma City. In the meantime, we'll take a break and be back with Healthwatch on the other side.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, the CIA now says the most cases of the neurological illness known as Havana syndrome were not caused by a foreign adversary. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Hedridge has the latest.
The CIA has released new interim findings overnight on hundreds of reported cases of Havana syndrome, ultimately ruling out Russia, Cuba, or any other foreign group as the cause of most of these illnesses. Instead, the majority of reports can be reasonably explained by medical conditions or environmental and technical factors, including previously undiagnosed illnesses. After a cluster of cases was first reported in Cuba, U.S. diplomats and personnel stationed overseas said they experienced Havana syndrome symptoms, including in China, Austria, and Vietnam. Some told CBS News they heard ringing or loud piercing sounds and felt intense pressure in the face with pain, nausea, and dizziness. A recent study conducted for the State Department found the most plausible cause was directed pulsed radio frequency energy. The CIA said about 24 priority cases remain unexplained and the focus of active investigation. Russian and Cuban officials have consistently denied involvement. Catherine Herod, CBS News, Washington.
A new report shows a quarter of all Americans do not get enough physical activity. The CDC mapped the activity of people in all 50 states and Puerto Rico and found that those living in the South tended to be the least active. The highest rate of activity was among Colorado residents. Regular exercise lowers the risk of cancer, heart disease, and countless other illnesses. Well, there's new information about how to treat kids with peanut allergies. A large study conducted by The Lancet found immunotherapy using small doses of peanut protein powder led to 71% of kids becoming desensitized to peanut allergens. The study also found the younger immunotherapy was started, the more effective it was. Patients with inflammatory bowel disease are at a greater risk of having serious COVID complications. Researchers at Mount Sinai in New York found that IBD patients, especially those who had not been fully vaccinated, had a greater rate of hospitalization than the average person infected with COVID. Let's look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And a look at our forecast once again shows we are off to yet another cold start, but at the very least we're going to see improving temperatures compared to the 20s that we had to deal with the other day. 10 degrees by 8 a.m., 25 by noon. I see highs around Joplin topping out at 33 today with the east breeze starting to become a bit more southeasterly at 5 to 10, especially late in the afternoon. But everybody has to get out of the single digits this morning. Then everybody will be in the lower to middle 20s by the noon hour and then pushing into the lower 30s this afternoon. Mostly sunny skies to enjoy. Then the future track wants a kind of overdue cloud cover. I still think we'll go partly cloudy skies tonight, but still that will keep temperatures from dropping off so much. We'll drop back around 20 degrees tonight and then finally back to where we should be Saturday with highs around 44. We'll push 51 for Sunday, a chilly but nice way to end the weekend on Sunday. Then our next storm system comes in on Monday, 52 degrees and with rain chances along with the next cold front. Once we get behind that, we are back in the 30s, surprise, surprise, by Tuesday and Wednesday. Another half hour of news coming up.
Coming up, an Oklahoma man receives sentencing for a 2020 killing and for the injuring of an Oklahoma Highway Patrol officer.
Plus, we are all downright cold for this morning. With high pressure control, it stays cold today, but temperatures will be improving. First look at the forecast coming up.
And officials discussed the state of the city in Webb City and lay out plans from where to go from here.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Nick Kelly is in for Michael Hayslip today. And I've been saying it. Maybe it's cold out there.
And in honor of the late and great Meatloaf, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's all we've been able to track this morning, and thankfully we are going to see improving numbers. At least we'll do better compared to the 20s that we had to contend with for highs yesterday. But and that is, by the way, that's where we should be starting out on a normal day like today. But at the bright side of things, we are starting out with quiet skies right on top of the region. Good reason for that. At the surface, we have high pressure sitting over the Iowa-Illinois border, but that's what's also keeping us cold, but at least not as cold as our neighbors to the north, where a good number of people in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin are waking up to temperatures as cold as 20 below zero. Yeah, it's cold enough down here already. 3 in Iola, 9 in Chautauqua, 11 in Grove, most of the Joplin metro in the upper single digits this morning. Thankfully, though, there's not much of a wind chill out there because our breeze, thankfully, is staying light out of the east, maybe pushing 5 miles per hour at the most. Once we get past sunrise, though, we are going to see the thermometer at least edge back above freezing today, 25 by noon. We'll push highs around 33 degrees, and thankfully, Tanya, the numbers will keep going up as we go through the rest of the weekend. We'll break that down with a look at the 7-day coming up in a bit.
All right. Yep. A lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nick. Well, the D.C. Court of Appeals rules in favor of the city of Miami, Oklahoma, in a lawsuit against the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or Ferc. The ruling says Ferc failed to appropriately analyze the city of Miami's complaint concerning the GRDA's operation of the Pensacola Dam. City claimed the GRDA violated its license by flooding property that it does not have the legal right to flood. City Attorney Ben Loring said in a release, in part, "We have been battling this problem for decades, and until now it seems that no one would even listen to our issues, let alone care about our problems, except for the courts. We feel like someone is finally listening." A judge sentences a Fairland, Oklahoma man to multiple life prison terms for killing one man and injuring two others, including an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. Edwin Ball gets 3 life sentences with release after 35 years for crimes that happened in March of 2020. Ball shot and killed Brendan Vanswell and shot and injured Peter Stokes. The victims were the adult son and brother of Ball's girlfriend. Ball then barricaded himself in a house near Grand Lake where he shot and injured an Oklahoma State trooper. In November, Ball accepted a deal, pleading guilty to 3 charges: murder in the first degree, shooting with the intent to kill, and assault with a deadly weapon. On Thursday, Webb City officials laid out what the city has been working on for the past year and where it's going from here. Webb City's mayor, city administrator, and community development director all spoke at the State of the City address. The mayor says infrastructure is a priority for him.
More businesses are coming, we have more housing coming, and it's all in a very organized and predictable manner so that we get good infrastructure to support all of them, and together we can grow and make it a better place to live.
This event was hosted at the Webb City Route 66 Event Center. Community continues to react after Sedgwick County District Attorney Mark Bennett announces no charges in the death of 17-year-old Cedric Lofton. The teen died last September, 2 days after he was restrained following a struggle at the juvenile intake facility. Now the city of Wichita looks to make improvements to its policies. Alex Flippin tells us what Mayor Brandon Whipple is saying.
DJ, let go, man.
A situation involving a 17-year-old boy going through a mental health crisis. District Attorney Mark Bennett says 1:30 a.m. on September 24th, officers talked with Cedric Lofton for an hour at his foster family's home, saying they were taking him to Via Christi St. Joseph Hospital as he was showing signs of a mental health crisis. Then, WPD says Cedric became combative. And that's when a WPD supervisor decided he should go to the county's juvenile intake facility, or JIAC.
For me, I think we should be taking him to St. Joe.
In the body cam footage from that night, you can hear officers' differing opinions on where Lofton should be transported. And that's where Wichita Mayor Brandon Whipple says in this moment, there should have been help for Cedric, regardless of where he was taken.
My understanding is there was a discussion of taking this young person here or there, but there was really no discussion or no challenge to the fact that he was going through a mental health crisis. So regardless of where this young person winds up, he should have access to mental health care, and that's something we should be looking at as policymakers to make sure that we can have those in place.
The county does have a program called ICT-1 that utilizes mental health professionals that respond to certain mental health calls, but it's only when the staff is available. Mayor Whipple says this service is essential, but needs funding.
We should definitely be scaling up the ICT-1 and also figuring out ways in which we could integrate other mental health services into places like JIAC. So what more can we be doing? It's going to take a team effort.
Well, today in 1990, a very temperamental tennis star is disqualified from the Australia Open. That sounds familiar. Well, who is that tennis star? If you guessed John McEnroe, you'd be correct. Known for having a big temper, McEnroe became the first player since 1963 to be disqualified from the Australia Open. McEnroe was a dominant force in the 1980s professional tennis scene, winning 3 Wimbledon and 4 U.S. Open titles between 1979 and 1984. Of course, we've got another tennis battle we've been following in the last few weeks with Djokovic. And it was the Australian Open.
Yeah, that's true. And in terms of weather, we've been just lobbying back and forth between mild temperatures and just the downright cold winter chill. And that's what we got in store once again for today, but we'll do better than the other day. 33 degrees for highs this afternoon, and we will see how we look tonight. Doesn't look so bad. We'll drop to 20 this overnight, rather, and then warming up to 24 by 6 a.m. I think we will keep warming up as we go throughout Saturday. 44 degrees under partly sunny skies, 51 on Sunday. So all we got to do is just get past today. Then we're looking good for the rest of the weekend. Rain chances on Monday with highs near 52, but behind that passing cold front. Surprise, surprise, Tanya, we'll be right back in the 30s Tuesday and Wednesday.
That's a look at today's top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, the race is on to get self-driving cars on the road. We'll have the latest update on which car companies are pushing to get their newest innovation moving. Plus, they may be cute, or not, depending on how you view them. Robotic animals are the next kind of robot making their way onto the robotic scene. How do you feel about robotic animals? We want to know. Please weigh in. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, cars are more high-tech than ever, and as Laura Podesta reports, the race is on to bring self-driving cars to the road.
Around the outside.
This recent race in Las Vegas featured Indy-style cars, but there were no race car drivers. The fully autonomous vehicles make their own decisions, like when to pass.
Approaching 170.
Automakers are trying to bring the technology on display on this track to the road.
We're definitely finally getting closer to having self-driving cars.
Tim Stevens with CNET's Roadshow says many new cars have level 2 autonomous functions, including lane keeping assist.
When you step up to level 3, that's when things start to get interesting.
Last year, Honda introduced a vehicle that changes lanes on its own. And in a traffic jam, the driver can take their eyes off the road. GM's Super Cruise lets drivers go hands-free in certain conditions. Next year, the company will release Ultra Cruise, which promises hands-free driving in 95% of conditions. Waymo is taking the technology a step further.
Heading to shopping mall.
The company is now offering driverless cab rides in Phoenix, but the cars can't operate alone in inclement weather that may interfere with sensors. Full autonomy is just a concept at this point. Automakers envision a future where vehicles won't need any human involvement, but Stevens says first it'll require better sensors.
That gives these cars the ability to detect with millimetric precision every obstacle that's around them and find a safe path through it.
Companies are now testing advanced 3D LiDAR systems with that capability, racing to bring self-driving cars a step closer to reality. Laura Podesta, CBS News, New York.
I don't know if it reminds me of like driving with my 15-year-old and I can't take my eyes off the road. Mercedes and Volvo are expected to release vehicles with level 3 technology later this year. Well, another tough day on Wall Street. The Dow dropped 313 points. The Nasdaq skidded 186. The S&P 500 lost 50. Shares of Netflix fell 20%. In after-hours trading, the streaming giant missed fourth quarter expectations for new subscribers and gave a grim view of future growth. Revenue did jump 16% to $7.7 billion. Shares of Peloton tanked more than 23% yesterday. CNBC reported the fitness company is planning to temporarily halt production of its bike and tread as demand wanes. The company had skyrocketed to the top of the fitness world as gyms were closed early in the coronavirus pandemic. From clicks to bricks, Amazon is opening its first ever brick and mortar clothing store. Amazon Style, a 30,000 square foot space, opens later this year in a mall near Los Angeles. The store will use algorithms to offer real-time recommendations, and customers in the fitting room can use a touch screen to have more clothes delivered to them. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Nick for our Something to Talk About.
Now we're sticking with technology. We're going from automated cars to robotic animals, specifically the Animal with a Y, a robot dog designed by a research university in Zurich. The animal can move across even the roughest terrain with the greatest of ease. It can scale mountains, maneuver through tall grass, snow, and step over obstacles. The animal's already actually being used instead of research teams in hostile environments like Chernobyl and the Fukushima power plants. Any animal, rather, can also read and understand maps, and it can see its path using animal-like touch sensors. And one of the goals researchers have for Animal, ultimately, space exploration. So how do you feel about robotic animals? We have great for people, not a fan, no opinion, scared, other. We had great for people leading for a while, but we have not a fan taking number one for now at 41%. You can still chime in, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, or vote using the KOAM News Now app for iOS or Android. We'll be back with our four-state hero in a bit, but first, let's turn it over to Gail King to find out what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you, I'm Gail King. Coming up and only on CBS Mornings, we'll hear from a woman who's going to court over her brother's death, challenging a decades-old law which protects social media companies like Facebook. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
We're here to help. We are the four-state.
Good, turning 1 year old this year in Parsons.
That's right, Ruthie Lee Gold, happy birthday to you. We will move on to our next item on the list, birthday rather on the list, Oakley Dale Trujillo. Hope I got your last name right, Oakley. Happy first birthday, especially from Grandma Jenny, Grandpa Dale Oak, and Aunt Emma and Uncle Nathan over in Moran.
And we have to point out the obvious. She clearly had a great time getting into her first birthday cake. That's a great picture, great memory to share on her 18th birthday as well.
I didn't realize that until you brought it up. Wow.
Love it. And the blue frosting, that'll stick around for a while.
Yeah.
Levi Wells is 7 strong this year in Parsons, and if it's Levi's birthday, that means it's time to celebrate for Lucas as well. Great pictures of both of them in Parsons.
We move over to Baxter Springs. Happy 8th this go around for Autumn Yeager. Happy birthday to you, Autumn.
I used to love climbing trees back in the day. And Shayla Bogle Hayward celebrating birthday number 21. Great picture there of Shayla in Chanute.
We hop over to the big town, Joplin. Jonathan Ashworth, sporting a mean stash there, 28 this year, with a happy birthday wish with love from Mom and Scott.
I wonder if that goes along with his sweater. Somebody was getting festive. Happy birthday, Jonathan. And happy birthday to Kelsey Westerhold, who's now 33 years old this year. Happy birthday, Kelsey, in Sheldon.
Okay, we'll move on to Blue Jacket, Oklahoma. Alyssa Thomas, happy 34th to you this go around.
All right, Tiana Mizrael is celebrating birthday number 35. My girl Tiana in Pittsburgh. Happy birthday.
And Jason, your loving wife Lori, didn't forget your birthday. Happy 43rd to you out of Humboldt.
All right, and let's see, we've got Shannon Lewis there on the left taking birthday number 43 this year. Her picture, it says here, was taken with Mark Hall, who is the lead vocalist for the popular Christian rock group Casting Crowns.
That's pretty cool.
That is neat. Wanted to save there for you. Happy birthday, Shannon.
Happy birthday indeed. We move on back to Jasper, Missouri. Roger Rush, happy 47 to you.
All right, and Michael Forker is celebrating birthday number 51 in Neosho with love from your loving wife, Melanie.
All right, we will move on over to Pittsburgh, the other big town in the area. Steve Burnage, turning 69. Let's go around. Happy birthday, Steve.
Oh, also turning 69, this one in Erie, Kansas, Peggy Yarnell. Happy birthday, Miss Peggy.
All right, we go back to Joplin. Marge Frazier, 70 years young. Happy birthday to you, Miss Marge.
Okay, and Luther Cantaloupe III, Junior, it says. Interesting. 80 years old, Mr. Cantaloupe, celebrating a birthday, and the entire family, proud grandfather of 19 grandchildren. Wow, happy 80th birthday, Luther. We have a great day.
All right, we are not done just yet. We will wish a happy birthday to Bill Reed out of Chatopa, Kansas, and a happy birthday to Miss Janine Robinson out of Baxter Springs. Also wishing a happy birthday to Timothy Beth, turning 30 out of Fredonia, and finally, Carrie Schreiber. Hopefully that last name I got right, Carrie, but happy 40th to you out of Chanute. All right, yeah. Oh my God, I'm not done just yet. If you want to shout out your birthday or anniversary, let us know. Send your information our way. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com or birthdays at KOAMNewsNow.com.
Or you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. See what's coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Well, it's going to be take me out to the ball game or not. The MLB apparently is no closer to seeing its lockout end anytime soon. So if you join us on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we will definitely have more about this lockout and how the MLB is striking out.
To honor today's four-state hero, Bobby Briley, the Joplin native, served from 1969. And he also won the Bronze Star and Military Merit Award. We thank you for your service, Bobby Briley, today's four-state hero.
At Hardee's, there's so many tongue-teasing, wallet-pleasing, feed your happy.
Here's a look at today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Health officials in Kansas are working to improve the availability of COVID-19 testing. The department says as the numbers of positive cases rise, the demand for testing is also increasing, causing delays in receiving tests and getting test results. In response, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment says it's increasing staffing at existing testing sites and working to add 13 new testing sites. The department says it's looking for new laboratories to reduce wait times for test results and is searching for large indoor testing locations to prevent closures because of bad weather. CDC reports an average of about 1 in 4 COVID tests coming back positive, a huge increase. All 50 states are reporting a high level of community transmission. Missouri has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the country, and the COVID situation in the state's biggest cities is dire. Hospitals there are swamped with patients. Governor Parson declared an end to the pandemic emergency 3 weeks ago, but that emergency order gave hospitals the flexibility to move staff around and add beds, and without it, they say they're struggling to keep up with the rising number of patients. And a judge sentences a Fairland, Oklahoma man to multiple life prison terms for killing one man and injuring 2 others, including an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. Edwin Ball gets 3 life sentences with release after 35 years for crimes that happened in March of 2020. Ball shot and killed Brendan Vanswell and shot and injured Peter Stokes. The victims were the adult son and brother of Ball's girlfriend. Ball then barricaded himself in a house near Grand Lake where he shot and injured an Oklahoma State trooper. In November, Ball accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to 3 charges: murder in the first degree, shooting with the intent to kill, and assault with a deadly weapon. Repairs are in full swing inside Missouri Southern State University's Taylor Performing Arts Center, 2.5 years after it closed. The center closed in July of 2019 because of structural problems with the main stage, stairwells, and rigging system. Missouri lawmakers last year provided $2.5 million to make the 47-year-old facility usable again. The university expects repairs to be complete later this year. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Let's get another look at our forecast and a little bit of a deeper dive before we start to wrap things up. The surface map explains why. Clearly, we are quite cold this morning. High pressure centered over Iowa and Illinois on the state line, as a matter of fact. It is keeping skies clear this morning and the breeze light, but it's starting us out in single digits. Fortunately, we are going to see improving numbers throughout the day. 10 degrees by 8 a.m., 25 by noon. A little bit above freezing, but will technically be above freezing nonetheless, with Joplin topping out around 33 degrees, with an east breeze becoming eventually southeasterly at 5 to 10 throughout the day. Everybody will get out of the single digits once we get past sunrise this morning. Everyone will be in the mid-20s to start the afternoon out, and mainly lower 30s to start for the rest of the afternoon, rather, under mostly sunny skies. A future track here still wanting to overdo the cloud cover. I want to say partly cloudy skies tonight, but that will still help us out with temperatures. You can see how we'll only drop back near 20. A definite improvement compared to how cold this morning is. In fact, we'll go 44 Saturday, 51 Sunday. So we're definitely looking better as the weekend rolls along. Our next chance for rain comes in on Monday with highs from 52. Then behind that passing cold front, Tanya. Surprise, surprise, we'll be back in the 30s Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making speckled brookie bars in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
That's right. And ahead on CBS Mornings, there's controversy over Apple's AirTag technology. How the device meant to keep track of your belongings is actually being used to track and stalk others.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we'll have an update to the youngest female pilot who was out to set a record. Let me tell you, she did. Plus, have you ever been curious about how COVID spreads through an office? There's a simulator coming out that does just that.
So if you're not done with your news fix yet, stick with us. We'll be over on Channel 14 in about a minute or so. In the meantime, we'll wrap things up here on KOAM. We hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. You'll see Michael and Tanya back here Monday morning.
And you'll see Nick and I back here at noon. We'll be right back.